Hello, 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 everyone. Are we ready to make some money? Right, in this video, we're gonna talk about, or not, we're not gonna talk about, we're gonna learn. You're gonna join me doing CloudFront for the first time. So CloudFront is securely deliver content with low latency and high transfer speeds. Okay, enable accelerated, reliable, and secure content delivery from Amazon S3 buckets, application load balancers, Amazon API gateway APIs, and more in 5 minutes or less. Free tier 1 terabyte of data transfer out, 10 million HTTP and HTTPS requests, 2 million CloudFront function invocations, and each month always free. Nice. So it's safe to play with this. So let's create a CloudFront distribution. What is the domain? Choose an AWS origin or enter your origin's domain name. Um, yeah, can I use this one? So you can choose an S3 or you can choose an elastic load balancer, which we don't have, an API gateway. All right, so media store container, media package. We haven't touched this one and we haven't read about this one, but we're good with this one. This one is when we create a backend, we can put a load balancer backend endpoint to be the target group of our load balancer API gateway as well. But for now, our resources are just the S3. So what we want to be um, confronted by a CloudFront is this one here, the JX S3 web. So this S3 bucket has static web hosting enabled. If you plan to use this distribution as a website, we recommend using the S3 website endpoint rather than the bucket endpoint. What does that mean? We recommend using the S3 website endpoint. Use Yeah, okay, so use the website endpoint. Okay, so that takes care of it. HTTP only. Yeah. Origin path optional. Name and enter a name for this origin. So this is the origin name. Add a custom header optional. This one additional setting, connection time, timeout, response time, default cache behavior, compress options automatically, viewer protocol policy, HTTP and HTTPS, redirect HTTP to HTTP allowed, HTTP methods. Yeah, this is just get head and head. Um, do we need options? We don't want. Restrict viewer access. If you restrict viewer access, viewers must use CloudFront signed URLs or signed cookies to access your content. So if you restrict, if yes, so trusted authorization type, trusted key groups recommended, trusted signer. So my trusted signer is me or additional AWS. So um, CloudFront. Every AWS account can only have two CloudFront key pair. I think that's what I remember. And for the trusted signers, I don't know what's the trusted signers. I have read about this, but I haven't tried this one in action. So using a trusted signer requires the AWS root account, which is not recommended. Using a third A trusted signer requires the AWS root account, which is not recommended. Okay, so this one. Okay, using a trusted signer requires the AWS root account, which is not recommended. What? What do you mean? Using a trusted signer. Okay, so trusted group. So we should use a trusted. So if you use a trusted signer, it is not recommended. What? It's not recommended. So you must use the trusted group, trusted key groups instead. So add the key groups policy. What is the policy? Public keys. I don't know what that is. Cache key and origin requests, cache policy and origin request policy recommended. What's this? Caching policy, choose an existing cache policy or create a new one. Response header policies, response headers policies, function associations, optional web application firewall, use all edge locations, best performance, custom SSL certificate, HTTP off, standard logging is off, IPv6 is on, create distribution, enable secure protection, do not enable secure protection. All edge, what's this? Choose the price class associated with the maximum price that you want to pay. Use all edge locations best performance. Use only North America and Europe. Alternate domain names. Optional. Add the custom domain names that you use in URLs for the files served by this distribution. Alright. Okay, so create the distribution. The parameter trusted keys must contain its items of if enabled. So we don't want to restrict. Okay, I am just joking. I don't really want to restrict. Okay, do you have 30 seconds to share your experience? View metrics. Um, Function errors. Monitoring. CloudFront. This is our distribution. ARN, deploying, standard logging, cookie logging. How do we know that it's already kicking off? Origins, behaviors, geographic restrictions and validations, tags, origins, general, still deploying. Grade staging distribution. Will it give us a URL? So go to ChatGPT. Well, CloudFront give us um, DNS. So my knowledge update in 2021, CloudFront does not provide DNS services on its own. CloudFront primarily functions as a content delivery network. service that accelerates the delivery of web content to end users by caching and distributing content across a global network of edge locations. For DNS services, AWS offers Amazon Route 53, which is a scalable and highly available domain name system. Route 53 can be used in conjunction with CloudFront to provide DNS resolution for the CloudFront distributions domain names, ensuring that users are are directed to the nearest CloudFront edge location for the content delivery. It's possible that AWS has introduced new features or services since my last update, so I recommend checking the AWS documentation for website for any web updates or changes related to CloudFront and DNS capabilities to ensure you have the most current information on this topic. Still deploying. So if I check this, is it like being distributed by CloudFront now? How do we know that it's working? How do I know if CloudFront is already working? You can determine if your Amazon CloudFront distribution is working by following these steps. Distribution deployment. Ensure that you have created and properly configure a CloudFront distribution. This includes setting up the distribution with the correct origin, DNS configuration. Make sure you'll set up the DNS records for your domain to point to CloudFront distribution domain name. This typically involves creating a CNAME record that aliases your domain to the CloudFront distribution domain name. This DNS update can take some time to propagate across the internet, so be patient. Testing. To check if CloudFront is working, you can do the following. Access your website application, open a browser and enter the URL associated with your domain name. If you see your content, then CloudFront is working. Check CloudFront logs. You can review the CloudFront access logs in your silent. Alright, so it seems like it's already running. But how can we check? Let's go to Google. How to check if my CloudFront is is working. Silence. Bottomless part. You can test CloudFront function to make sure that it works as intended before you deploy the function. We don't want to use the function CloudFront with edge function. CloudFront. What is CloudFront? Getting started, working with distribution, creating. When you want to use CloudFront to distribute your content, you create a distribution and choose the configuration settings you want. For example, your content origin, access, security, blah 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 blah. Logs, where you want CloudFront to create standard logs or create real time. Did we enable the logs? I think we didn't. For the current maximum number of distributions, you can use distributions to serve the following content over HTTP, HTTPS. Required fields for creating and updating distribution steps for creating a distribution, create distribution value that you specify. Testing the distribution. Okay. After you've created your distribution, CloudFront knows where your origin server is, and you know the domain name associated with the distribution. You can create links to your objects using the CloudFront domain name, and CloudFront will serve the objects to To create links to the objects in in a web distribution, copy the following HTML code in a file. Replace domain name with your distribution domain. So how do I set the distribution domain? Creating distribution. Okay. Sign in, create a distribution, specify settings, value must save it. After CloudFront creates your distribution, a value of the status column for distribution will change from in progress to deployed. So status column. So where is our status column? So this is enabled. If you choose to enable the distribution, it will be ready to process requests after the status switches to deploy. If you choose to enable distribution, so this one is enabled, right? Yeah. So status column for will change from it. If you choose to enable the distribution, if it will be ready to process requests after. So it's enabled, so it should be distribution. Mine is enabled. After CloudFront resolve, the value of the status column for your distribution will change from in progress to distribution to deployed. How do we deploy this? The domain name that CloudFront assigns to your distribution appears in the list of distributions. So appears in the general tab for the selected distribution. Distribution domain name. So this is my domain name, right? Oh, nice. So my CloudFront is working. Okay. So the domain name that CloudFront assigns, alright. So when you distribute this, when your distribution is deployed, confirm that you can access your content using your new CloudFront URL or CNAME. For more information, testing a distribution. Oh. All right. I got it now. All right. So, so that's it. So, what's the difference between signed URL versus signed cookie cloud front? Choosing between signed URLs and signed cookies. Choosing between signed URLs and signed cookies. CloudFront signed URLs and signed cookies provide the same basic functionality. They allow you to control who can access your content. If you want to serve private content through CloudFront and you're trying to decide whether to use signed URLs or signed cookies, consider the following. Use signed URLs in the following cases. You want to restrict access to individual files, for example, an installation download for your application. Your users are using a client, for example, a custom HTTP client that doesn't support cookies. Use signed cookies in the following cases. You want to provide access to multiple restricted files, for example, all of the files for a video in HLS format, or all of the files in subscribers area of website. You don't want to change your current URLs. Okay. So if you are not currently using signed URLs and if your unique URLs contain any of the following queries, string parameters, you cannot use this either signed URLs or signed cookies. Expires, policy, signature, keeper ID. Alright, so signed URLs take precedence over signed cookies. If you both if you use If you use both signed URLs and signed cookies to control access to the same files, and a viewer uses a signed URL to request a file, CloudFront determines whether to return the file to the viewer based only on the signed URL. Alright, so that's it for the CloudFront. CloudFront will have its own domain. This one here. Is it called domain? It's called domain, right? Yeah, distribution domain name. So this one is our distribution domain name. Its origin is from this S3 website. And yeah, we're good. So that's it for today. CloudFront. And see you on the next video. Bye.